Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Renoy from OC Imaging once again, and today I thought I'd just try something a little bit different. Now, I've never shown you guys how I actually edit my photos. Now, I'm not the best at editing photos, but I really like the quality that I've been getting from my retouches lately, and also from my captures as well. So this is just a video to go through my creative process. So as you can see, I have an image up. The image and parts are sharp, and this is just a prime example of the fact that I'm still pretty much new to photography and learning. Her entire face is not fully sharp, and the reason for that is because I had this all the way down. I was using the 50mm f1.8 Canon lens on my Lumix G85, and it gives, with the Viltrox speed booster, it gives me the ability to go all the way down to f1.3. and being all excited about taking the photos, I dropped my f-stop down to f1.3 and I did not move it. So I did get some pretty, well, at least some sections of the photo is pretty sharp, but there are other sections that are not as sharp. And if I had my f-stop at probably f1.8, which is actually the norm, or f2, then this image would have been, or the entire image would have been sharp. But this is the photo that I'm going to be working with today. Now, once again, like I said, I'm still pretty much new to photography and editing photos. So I still have a lot to learn. So if you guys are expecting me to use a lot of the usual slangs that persons who do a lot of editing use, and if you guys are also expecting me to know a lot of shortcuts and so forth, you're not gonna see that here. I consider myself a basic editor, so we're gonna go ahead and go through and edit this photo as I would when I take a photo. Now, the first thing that I would actually do is to go ahead and change the sizing, because my initial thought is always Instagram, and you know you need that 4x5. So I grabbed that and I set it where I want it, and I'm good there. The next thing I would normally do is to actually straighten this particular photo, but this one is pretty much good, so there's no correction that needs to be done where the straightening is concerned. Now, as you can see, I set up the profile on my camera and also on Lightroom for it to be as flat as possible, so I can add whichever colors or certain colors as I see fit. I think this is the best way to work when you're editing a photo. So the next step that I would actually do, and some persons might give me a hard time for this, but it's just my process. I have a few Lightroom presets that I normally just go through. Some of my best edited photos actually come from me adding a Lightroom preset to a photo and then tweaking it to my liking. Of course, not all will work, and this entire pack is not gonna work. What I used on a previous photo like this, I'm pretty sure it was either the summer 2018 warm or the summer 2018. Yeah, I pretty much like that. But what I'm gonna do for today's video, I'm just gonna go ahead and do just some regular changes in regards to the color and the exposure. I'm just gonna do it all on my own. Alright, so first up is the exposure, and the exposure is not bad. I'm gonna bring it to 40. As I edit, my exposure might actually change, so don't pay much attention to the exposure at this point in time. For my contrast, I think I'm pretty much happy with where my contrast is right now. There are not much highlights in this photo, so I'm gonna keep that where it is as well. Shadows, her skin is actually pretty clear. There are not many dark areas or anything like that, so I don't think I need to bring up my shadows. The blacks are fine. So in regards to clarity, when I just started, I pretty much used to bump my clarity all the way up. but that was because I thought my photos weren't as sharp as they could be. But when you bump the clarity up, of course it's going to affect other things as well. So these days I actually either just drop it up to 10, or I just leave it as it is. Dehaze, it depends on, you know, if your photo has a lot of lighting in it or anything like that that you actually don't want inside that photo. This is what I think, of course. And so far you can see that I'm not actually tweaking much. My vibrance, I normally bring my vibrance up to like 20% and plus 20, and bring my saturation down to -10. This is also a reason why I normally just edit from a preset, because I'm still learning, as I pretty much said. So in regards to creating my own specific look or my own preset, it's a bit difficult for me. So this is why I definitely go ahead and drop on a Lightroom preset and just work my way from that. So this is the saturation section. I normally don't mess with luminance. I normally don't mess with hue. Saturation is where it is. Of course, depending on how high or how low whatever is, it's gonna affect the photo. So let me just bring this red here up to 30. That mainly affects her lips, nothing much else. And then the orange now is what will give the most effect to her skin. So at the moment, her skin is just a little bit pale based on how I brought the photo in. So I'm gonna bring this up until it looks about, you know, natural to me. And 30 looks about good to me. I don't think I need to bring this up. Of course, if you bring this all the way up to 100 or 60, it's gonna look a bit weird. So for me, 30 seems to be a good location. All right, so for the yellows, that would directly affect what's on her blouse. I actually bumped this all the way up to 100 when I edited previous photos of her in this particular blouse, because I like that pop that it gives it. The green, of course, is gonna affect the greenery behind her. I don't want this to be too strong, because of course it's gonna look pretty much fake. So I think about 50%, that's a good looking green that we have blurred out in the background. So yeah. And for aqua, I always test all of the photos, all of the colors, just to see if anything is different on here. This is pretty good, it doesn't affect anything. This affects her blouse. So the thing is, when you do this, her blouse actually has kind of a blue tint to it. So if you drop this all the way down, the blouse will now, or the white section of the blouse will be fully white. Now I don't see any purple or anything like that on the photo, and neither do I see any magenta. But of course you can always bring it all the way up to 100 or all the way down to -100, and you will know that for sure. All right, so I'm finished with the color section here. For the details on the skin, you can actually sharpen the photo. It will add more grain to the photo, but at the same time have your photo looking a bit more sharp. And as you know, as I said, I did have an instance, or in this case, I did have my aperture, my f-stop, all the way down to f1.3. So the photo is not as sharp as it could be, but I actually am fine with it, so I'm not gonna adjust the sharpness whatsoever. One of the things that I should have done, because it's actually one of the first things that I tend to do when I come into Lightroom, is profile correction. So I normally hit here to remove chromatic aberrations, which I actually get from this Canon 50mm lens that I use. And I also enable profile corrections. I go ahead, hit Canon. I find that particular 50mm lens, and it was definitely the 50mm STM right there. And yeah, it does what it does, but you're supposed to do that. I really see how it helps. But like I said, you're not gonna get super technical terms from me or anything like that for this particular creative process walkthrough, so to say. Alright, so that's pretty much my image here. It's pretty natural, nothing too crazy in regards to the colors. And this is precisely why I said I like working from presets. I'm sorry. I like working from presets that I have. Wow, I was recording that the wrong way the whole time. Alright, so now that I'm pretty much finished with this particular image, it probably just needs to be, let me just put this up to 50, just get a bit of brightness on it, a little bit more exposure. I'm gonna go ahead, let me see, nope, I'm fine with how it was. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and now what I do next is to bring this over to Photoshop. So I'm gonna go ahead, right click on the image and edit in Photoshop. Alright, so we are back. We are now in Photoshop, and of course the photo is already cropped, so I'm not going to need to do any form of cropping on this. It's actually pretty sharp. Who's that guy right there? That's me. Alright, so when I get into Photoshop, the first thing that I'm going to do is actually to clean up her skin, if necessary. And in this case, yeah, I definitely have some cleaning up that I have to do. Now, all this over this side, I actually got this from Andre Designs. You can download this for free. His videos are actually what got me doing retouching, and I've only watched a few of his videos, and like it's done wonders for me. So I definitely would recommend anybody to check out Andre Designs videos. So what I'm gonna do now is to just go ahead and grab my patch tool. This is what I do use to remove stuff from the skin. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove what I consider blemish or what I don't want in the photo. Remove it. Probably gonna end up speeding this up because it can be a tedious process at times. So I guess I can just go ahead and be silent. Now, one thing that I'm actually gonna do, I'm gonna remove myself from her eyes. And it's not the best, but the thing is you can always go over it, do it another time, a second time rather. And there we go. I probably don't need to adjust this, but for the sake of, doing stuff, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Her eyes are pretty much good. There are a few things I would probably do to her eyes, but, well, not with the if her eyes had really bright blood spot or blood shots or whatever they're called, showing, I would definitely go ahead and remove those just like this with the patch tool. However, I've recently found a method that pretty much works for me, and it looks really natural in my mind, to me. But that doesn't come until after I do all the skin retouch. So I'm gonna zoom out and see if I got everything. I think I pretty much got everything. Probably could just do a little thing here, but this is something that can be done with the frequency separation tool. So I'm gonna leave that here. Also, if you notice, I left this little spot right here. This is actually something I want to stay. I don't remove everything from person's faces when I actually edit their photos. Next up is this little, it's actually her hair, but it's not even. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove that. I'm gonna use the clone stamp tool. So I'm gonna press Alt and click on this area, and then just go ahead and just move it down and remove that little protrusion, if you wanna call it. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Nothing too difficult right there. I'm gonna zoom back out. So I pretty much think I have done everything in regards to clearing up her skin. So what I'm gonna do now is to just go ahead and hit this frequency tool, or frequency separation tool. Now in regards to this, the radius, when I just started editing photos, I have at every point I had the radius at 6.4. What I actually learned is that, over time of course, is that it's best for you to just go ahead and test out different radius, because each will work different depending on the skin of the model that you actually work with. The photos that I worked on previously for this person, I had the radius at 8, and I could probably even put it at 9, because it's not a lot that needs to be done. So let me just go ahead with this, and of course you're gonna go ahead and select the mixture tool. I want it just a little bit bigger. Just a little bit bigger. Yeah, that's fine. Even though I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller, that's fine. All right, so next thing you need to ensure that you're clicking on the, low. And now you can go ahead and start your retouching. So try not to overdo it. This is something that does take time and it does take practice. And as Andre Designs would say, it's best to start off with the light areas first. This is something I've learned along the way as well. I just normally with the sheen that's on the forehead, I bring it down to the nose bridge. So yeah, just go ahead, match this up. So we're pretty much smoothing out everything. This little area right here looks a bit weird. Yeah, so let me just go over this. For the smaller areas, like over the eyes and under the eyes, I'm gonna go ahead and bring down the size of my brush. But for the moment, I'm just dealing with these sections of the skin. Remember not to mix the light with the dark areas unless it is that you want to just brighten up a little bit of the dark areas. And try not to overdo it. Bring this down, continuing the smoothing process. Retouch, retouch, retouch. And what you can do is actually turn off the frequency separation, turn it back on, just to have an idea of how you're doing. I think this is going pretty good so far. Just this one little area here that I can actually see a dark spot. Yeah. Over the mouth. Alright, so what I'm gonna do now is to just zoom in a bit and just bring my brush down in size. So I'm gonna just do over her eyebrows, her eyelashes, my apologies. This area here, just flatten it out. Not just flattening it out, but trying to get everything to kind of match in regards to the shade or the color. And of course, you can also use this to get rid of a few wrinkle spots that you might see. Let's go ahead. Alright, her nose seems pretty good. Yeah, skin seems pretty okay. I'm not the type to do like, at least I don't want to be the type to do over editing to the point where like those hairs on her skin, you're not seeing them or anything. I actually like the look of the hair on the skin. I just want to have the skin all even, or looking all even. Get rid of some of the darker areas. And that would pretty much be it for my type or my style of skin retouching. Now I can zoom back out just a little bit and just do a bit on her neck and her hands. So of course I'm gonna bring my brush size back up. Nothing major here. See that just now where I came here and it brought in some of the light from this light area? Yeah. So just a few little touches. And then next up, I'm gonna just do a few touches on her arm, her hand as well. Just gonna smooth out that a bit, or even it out. Right here, and we're good. So that was a quick retouch. Let me just go ahead and drop the frequency separation. This will help me to see if there are like any uneven areas. And right here looks like there's a little bit of thing that needs to go. I hope I didn't make it worse. Yeah. Do that again to see if there are any other areas that could use a little something something. All right, so this is pretty good. I'm actually quite happy with how this has turned out, and quite quickly as well. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna add a new layer, and I'm gonna call that new layer eyes. So this is where I'm actually gonna add a little bit of color, not color, but white to her eyes. And it's gonna be quite subtle, but of course it's gonna make a huge difference, or at least it does to me. Yeah, this is fine. So white is already selected. And if you notice, my opacity is at 10%. That's how little it's gonna be. I'm gonna go ahead and just go over the eyes, basically repaint it just a little bit. Because of the opacity being where it is, it's not gonna look fake like something I've done before. And the more you go over it, the more it actually, the stronger it actually gets. But I don't want to overdo it. I'm gonna go back out, just, I mean, I've seen worse. Let me just do a little touch right in here, and we're all good. I'm gonna move on to the next eye. nothing major. Just moving over the eye, and plus this one is not as in focus as the other. So I'm gonna leave it as at that. That should be quite fine. So it just brings up the eyes just a little bit more. I'm hoping this doesn't look fake. I really am. 10% opacity is quite low. Alright, now that I've done that, another thing that I do from time to time is just to put a little color on the lips. So what I actually do is just to take a sample from the darkest red spot on her lips, or on the lips, grab it. I'm still gonna have my opacity at 10%. Get my brush just a little bit bigger and just go over the lips. Once again, nothing major. And see, I forgot to create a whole new layer for this that I'm doing here. I should have created another layer and name it lips. But yeah, that's the lips right there. Nothing too major. I just added a little bit of red onto the lips. Now I've pretty much finished up something that I enjoy doing every now and then. It doesn't work on all photos, but I've used it on this set of photos already, and it should look pretty good as well. So what I do is that 5% blue, and it just gives it a different look. And like, even though I didn't do a whole lot in Lightroom, yeah, that's how it looks. I'm gonna go ahead and hit save on that. Another thing that I can just quickly do is just to grab my my logo and just put it somewhere on this particular photo. So I'm just gonna drag my photo, my logo, and bring it on here. I'm just gonna press shift and resize this just a little bit. White on white, just ain't right. I'm just gonna put it right here. And another thing that I tend to do with my tags are I actually bring the opacity down to about 50%. Yeah, and that's pretty good. So my photo is tagged. I think I want to just edit the height just a little bit, and I'm pretty good with that. Hit save, and there it is. That's my photo. So there you go. We have the before and the after, what it was like and what it is now. Not a lot of work needed to be done in regards to this particular skin or this retouch. You can see that the blue that was added, the 5% blue that was added into the photo, just gives it a little, you know, it just gives it a little oomph. And yeah, I pretty much like what was done here. I probably could have gone a bit less, like 5% opacity on the eyes, because it does look just a little bit weird, but I'm pretty much happy with the photo. And based on how I edited it with the layer, I can go ahead easily and just remove the white from the eyes and redo it, or even leave it as is. It's not something that I always do, and if I do it in moderation. So guys, I want to thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it wasn't too long, and I hope I didn't get too boring. I want to thank you again for staying tuned. I hope you like the final image. This is how I edit pretty much all of my photos, especially portraits. So once again, this is Renoir from OC Image, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And also, if there's anything that you see that I can do a bit differently or even a little bit better, please hit me up. I'm open to suggestions, or at least tips and advice. Yeah. Okay. So again, this is Renoir from OC Imaging, wishing that you'll all live, love, and laugh. Peace out.